Hello everybody, welcome to another FCE class. Today we are going to do a new chapter. It's called Inversion and Emphatic Structures. So we will start first with page 156. Alright, so this is the introduction page, right? We have the tables on top and then the exercise. And then we will continue on to do some more reading over here, right? So we have two topics for today, emphatic structures and inversion. So each of them have their own page, right? And then on the last page, so 158, we will combine the two and then we will see how to distinguish them and how their structures are different from each other, okay? So quite a lot of reading and then some practice making, all right? All right, so let's go back to page 156, all right? I don't have space to write down the table on the whiteboard because there's a lot of sentences that needs to be written today. So I'll show you guys over here is the just the parts where I will introduce the topic. So I'll write it down over here. Refer to your book if I need some explanation, all right? Okay, so let's look at the emphatic structures, okay? Let's see the word emphatic first. Emphatic, E-M-P-H-A-T-I-C, emphatic. All right, so we have a word similar to emphatic that maybe a lot of us use in school, right? I'll write down here, it comes from the word emphasize, right? Or emphasis, okay? This means to bring to light something that we want, okay? That we want to be emphasized, okay? Or something that we want to stand out. Maybe it's a piece of important information or it holds our emotions or our questions, okay? Or our curiosities, all right? Okay, so emphatic structure, right? We use them to emphasize a part of a sentence, like I said a while ago. And so the words in bold, right? There are two types of bold words in our book on the table. We have the red ones and the blue ones, okay? The red ones are the headings and the blue ones are the subheadings or the examples, okay? Let's go through it one by one. We have 2, 4, 6, 7 parts, right? So let's go through it one by one so we are very well familiar with the subtopics, all right? Okay, so the first one was it was or it is, right? Let me write that down. We have it was and it is, so it was or it is. And then of course sometimes we have the negative form, right? So not. All right? So this here is the subject, right? It was someone. So we have the subject. The subject can also be things, right? So proper nouns, nouns, and personal pronoun, right? Subject pronoun. And then we have the object, right? It could also be object. And then we have that or who. So continuation, right? We have that or who. Now a special form here, right? We have a letter M, so this could mean whom. All right, just to distinguish the meaning, right? Who and whom are synonymous, so they can be used side by side. But this one with the M has a special has a special function, right? For example, who does this book belong to? Right? Who does this book belong to? For example, the answer is a boy's name, right? So maybe it is John's book, so it belongs to him. Right, one way to remember when to put an M in who is when it ends, right? Just make a hypothetical answer. If it's a boy, we will say him. So ideally or naturally, you'll put M in the last part of who. So whom does this book belong to, okay? And this question, I will be referring to this again later in the inversion part, okay? So mind you, if you can write this down somewhere in your book on the side, margins, that would be nice. Because I will refer to this question again in the other topic, all right? Inversion. So whom does this book belong to? It belongs to him, right? Whom. All right. Whom does this book belong to? Good. So this is the first part, right? It was, and then, or it was not. It is, or it is not. Subject or object, and then that or who or whom, right? So we use this as statements, right? What does statements mean? Just declaring something, right? No need to ask for questions, no need to ask for requests, no need to demand, right? These are just statements, something that you want to say, right? So the examples here are, it was Mary that called you, right? So it was Mary It was Mary that called. So this one follows a verb, right? That called you. And then there's another part. It was the manager whom I wrote to. It was the manager whom I wrote to. So you can use this synonymously, okay? So that or whom. This is okay, right? It was the radio that broke down. It was the radio that broke down. So objects obviously will use that, right? Not who. Alright, so why do we use these kinds of sentences, right? Emphatic structures. Can you try and answer why? Can you try? Alright, if it's not an emphatic structure, let's look at it was the radio that broke down, right? If we don't say it was the radio that broke down, then we will just simply put it as the radio broke down, okay? So it's a lot less colorful, right? The radio broke down. It was the radio that broke down, okay? So what kind of structure, right? This is the SVO, right? The normal structure. So why do we write like this? Why do we write in different ways? What is the purpose? Right, try to imagine, right? There are many things in a room. There are so many things in a room. And a lot of these things make noises, right? A lot of these things make noises. You want to put an emphasis on the radio and the action that has been going on, right? So the radio, it was the radio that broke down, right? And this kind of surmises other people's thoughts. Maybe other people are thinking of it as well. And then you confirm it with your statement, right? For example, if someone was thinking quietly in their head, what happened? Was it the radio that broke down? And then if you answer with, the radio broke down, right? It seems very unpleasant, very from the get-go, right? Very frank. But if you say it was the radio that broke down, it sounds a lot more colorful, right? It sounds a lot more important, right? There is much more emphasis into what's going on. All right? Okay, let's move on. The second subtopic, right? The second topic or the second head, all right? It was or is it or was it plus the subject and object, that or whom, okay? This is used for questions, okay? So interrogative, okay? Interrogative or interrogative, okay? Okay, so the example we have is it James, okay, that or whom you are going to meet, right? Is it James whom you are going to meet? Now, why is it whom, right? Why is it whom? Again, James is a boy's name, right? So if someone asks you this question, is it James whom you'll be meeting? And then you will say, yes, I will be meeting him, right? There's an M at the end. Just try to kind of put that connection there, okay? Okay, the next question was it? So we also have it in the past tense, right? Was it his bicycle that got stolen, right? So similar structure as the first one, right? If it's an object, right? Was it the bicycle? We will use that, okay? If it's a person, we can use that or whom, okay? And depends on the situation, what tenses we should use, right? Is it is or is it was, all right? So these are the examples of the questions. So you can see here that the only change from the first part is the position of the verb, right? And the word it, right? Or was, and it, right? So it was Mary who called me, right? It was Mary who called me, and then you switch it around. Was it Mary who called you, right? Was it Mary who called you? All right, so you can try to switch it around, right? Same as the normal SVO structure. You flip it around to make it into a question, right? All right, next one. All right, so we have question words included, right? And these are still statements. So when these are questions, was it, is it, they're all questions. In contrast, when we actually use the question words, like the word what, right? This becomes a statement, okay? So we have that is what. So this can be changed, right? WHQ. So that means WH question words, okay? That is what he did to save the boy, okay? For example, we will use this when someone is asking us a question. What did he do to save the boy? And then you say a lot of explanation in the front, and then you further emphasize saying that, what you just said, referring to what you just said, is what saved the boy, okay? Or what he did to save the boy. Alright? So this one is usually put in the ending of after an explanation, okay? You explain something, and then you further say, and that is what happened, right? So this could be a closer, right? A closer sentence or closing sentence. Okay, and this is a statement, right? So you can change WH questions, okay? Alright, next one. Is or was that plus question word or question words plus is or what, it, and that. Okay, so those are questions. Now this is a little bit, the structure is a little complicated, so let me write it down. Alright? So the example they use here was that why. Alright, so this is the first part, right? Was that why? Now, of course, you can change was to is, right? If it's something reoccurring, something of the present, or something that is true or habitual, you do every day, right? So was that why? And here you can see that refers to the reason why, right? So we will use that, not whom. Was whom why is wrong, okay? So the reason, we will use that, alright? Was that why they moved house, okay? That's the example. Now there's another way to write it too. We can also say why is it that, okay? So we will start with why first. So this is the other way of writing it. Why is it that? Or you can also say why was that? Why was it that? Right, was. You can change it too, depending again on the situation. Alright, why was it that you are always late to work? Alright, so you're asking the question why. Again, we're finding the reason, right? So same way, you just switch it around, swap it, right? Alright. Okay, so what if I don't use these emphatic structures, right? I will just say, why are you late? Right? Why are you late? And then maybe someone will answer, oh, because there was a traffic accident, right? And then that's the end. That's the end of the discussion. Perhaps you would like a clearer explanation, right? So when you use something like, why is it that you are always late for work, right? This sounds like a more interrogative question. You want to know the reason why, right? Not just, okay, so why are you late, right? Or why are you always late? And then someone will just say, oh, I woke up late, that's why, right? So it's very daft, it's very bland. When you use these kinds of emphatic structures, right? Because you're putting emphasis into the questions, into the reason why you're asking those questions, or why you're saying your statements. It provokes a deeper understanding or a deeper reply from the receiver, okay? Alright, so when you are writing maybe essays, alright, it's important that you kind of use these kind of emphatic structures because it will entice or it will make the readers want to engage with your text, with your writing, right? So try to, after this lesson, try to write some emphatic structured sentences, right? Let's move on forward, okay? So question word plus subject plus verb or is or was, alright? Alright, so for that example, they put down what he needs is a long holiday, right? What he needs is a long holiday. So what do you think that is? Is that a question? We start with what? No, right, these are suggestions, okay? These are suggestions. So what he needs, or you can say what she should do is, right? What she should do is maybe take some rest for 8 hours so she can feel refreshed the next morning, okay? So these are suggestions or pieces of advice. We can also use these in the emphatic structure. Otherwise, right? Right? Otherwise, you would say it this way. I would suggest she, okay? And here, right, the emphasis already starts with I would suggest. So again, It is very subjective, right? It's very focused on what I think, right? Instead of what she thinks, right? But here, if we say what she should do is, or what she should consider is, right? Here we are kind of forgetting about the I part. The subjective part is not included, right? So this is purely a suggestion for her well-being, all right? So same thing with he, right? What he needs is a long holiday, right? What he needs is a long holiday. So we're not saying anything about myself, right? It's about him. So again, these are for suggestions or pieces of advice, all right? So again, if you want to write this down in your essays, right? What we should consider, or what they, right? The subject of observation. What they should consider is, all right? All right, the next one, to express, right? To express admiration, anger, concern, right? So these are to express feelings or emotions. All right, we will use the word ever, okay? Question words with ever. So maybe you've heard of the word whatever, right? So a lot of people these days use whatever as a kind of dismissive tone, right? Do you want to go see the movie? Oh, whatever, right? But there's another use to this word, okay? So whatever is to emphasize, right? Emphasize what is it that they want to do, what are they doing, or what is going on, right? So whatever are you talking about is the example, right? Whatever are we going to do, right? Whatever are we going to do, right? Whatever are we talking about in the coming years, right? Whatever are they talking about, okay? Question, sorry. All right, so these one will end in questions, okay? These one will end in questions. So whatever here is synonymous with what, right? What are we going to do? Whatever are we going to do? The emphasis here, right, if we put whatever, is the do part. We're emphasizing it, right? We're making it almost as if this is the only question we should be focusing on, all right? Whatever are we talking about? Whatever are we going to do? Right, of course you can also change it to whoever. Whoever are we going to meet at that party? That means, okay, we're going to this party, but I'm meeting a lot of people. What's so important about this one person? Whoever are we going to meet, right? Alright, so let's move on. Do, does, did, plus bare infinitive, okay? So do, does, did, and then bare infinitive. Now remember what infinitives are? Right, infinitives are basically just verbs, right? We have three parts, right? We have two infinitives, so to eat. Bare infinitives, just eat, and then what's the other one? Right, ing, right? The gerund part, alright? Alright, so anyway, let's move on. So we have I do promise to keep your secret, right? And then we have do have some coffee, right? And then the last one we have, he did buy. So this is quite similar to the first one, right? This is quite similar to the first one. This is confirmation or statements, right? So we have different types of them in this subtopic or subheading. So I do promise to keep your secret. So again, this is sort of confirming to the receiver, right? Maybe the receiver told you something. The receiver of this sentence told you something, and they asked you, "I hope you keep your promise of not telling anybody about my secret," right? So the emphasis really here is do, right? Right? If you remove do, you omit do, and you only have I promise. Okay, I promise to keep your secret. Yeah, okay, to some degree, maybe you will keep my secret, but with the emphasis of do, I will do that, right? I will do that. What is that? To keep the promise, right? Of keeping the secret. So I do promise to keep your secret. Now, maybe in novels, right? So in storybooks, right? When we have these kinds of emphasis, or all the words in bold, they will write them in italics. So italics is the slanted writing, right? So maybe they'll write it as I do promise, right? Right, so in books they might write it down like this. This means the emphasis, okay? So the tone of your voice will change when you speak it out loud. I do promise, right? And then over here we have another one. Do have some more coffee, right? So if it's in the normal structure, have some more, right? Have some more coffee. Here is do have some more coffee. Again, the emphasis is here, right? Alright, so have some more coffee, right? This is pretty much just offering some coffee to someone else. But when you put do in front, it's as if you are really offering it, okay? You really want them to have some more. So do have some more coffee, right? Emphasis. And then again, this one, confirmation. We have did, right? He buy will become, if this is no did, he will be he bought. Someone asked, right? Did he buy the tissue paper I asked him to buy? Yes, he bought some, right? But maybe someone keeps asking, right? Did he really buy it? Did he really buy it? So many times, and you get annoyed, and you want to emphasize that he did buy it, right? He actually bought it. So did could be synonymous with actually. So he actually bought all those things you asked to buy, right? He did buy, right? He did buy. Again, in the novels, right? They might put the emphasis in slanted, so they would write it down in this way, right? Slanted for these parts, right? It means the change of tone in your voice when you read them. Again, so this is emphasis, right? Confirming, to confirm, similar to the first subheading, right? All right. So really nothing special about it. It's just changing the structure of how we already write, right? So we know how to do this already. Let's try to answer the questions in part 1. So rewrite the sentences as in the example. So the examples are the ones in black, or actually a little bit green, right? Tinted green. And then we have to write them down using the same words in bold, but keeping the same meaning, okay? So there's an example done for us in part 1, question number 1. Anne decorated the pumpkin. So the emphasis here is who decorated the pumpkin, right? So this would be, it was Anne who decorated the pumpkin, right? It was Anne who decorated the pumpkin. Now let's move on to question number 2. The children need somewhere to play. The children need somewhere to play. Emphasis on somewhere to play. So what should be the statement there? Again, this is a hint, statement, right? Statement. Right, so we're talking about a place, right? The children need somewhere to play. What can you say about that? I'll give you around maybe 15 seconds. Just look through the table and think which one to use. Right, so this is a suggestion, right? What the children need is a place to play. So the children need some place to play. You are suggesting this, right? So, how do we write suggestions? How do we write suggestions? Yeah, I hope you were writing these down when I was explaining, okay? So you can remember. If you don't, then pay attention again. So, suggesting, right? We start with the WH question words first. So what the children need is a place to play. Okay, full stop. So what the children need is a place to play. Alright, so what? We start with WH question. And then the subject, right? The children need, verb. Right? And then the auxiliary is a place to play. This here is the object, right? A place to play. So similar to the normal structure, right? The children need somewhere to play. What the children need is a place to play. So what here refers to the need of a place to play, right? So that's the emphasis there. That's where we put the emphasis, okay? Alright, let's move on to question number 3. Did you give him that horrible pair of trousers? So here the emphasis is you. We're going to put the emphasis on you. Right? So how do we do that? And these are questions, remind you. Number 3 is a question. Alright, so I think there's only two. Yes, there's only two given to you as questions, right? So which form is correct? The first question form or the second? Alright, try to write that down and I will confirm. Alright, so questions, right? How do we write down questions again? Right, so this is asking about a person. So can we say, was that you? Was that you? No, right? So this is a person, right? So was it you? Now, you can say that or whom. Okay, for person. Was it you, that, or whom? What do you think? Give him that horrible pair of trousers. Did. So past tense, it should be gave. Give him, is it those or that? What did they write? That horrible pair of trousers. Question mark, right? Versus, did you give him those horrible pairs of trousers? So was it you? It's almost judging, right? It sounds like you're judging someone, right? Was it you that gave him those horrible pairs of trousers, right? It almost sounds like they're judging someone's taste in fashion, right? So this is the emphasis, right? You want to emphasize that whoever gave him the pair of trousers has bad taste, right? All right, question number 4. What do you mean by talking to me like that? Okay. So this is someone who might be angry, right? And then they're asking another person, why are you talking to me this way? So what do you mean by talking to me like that? Okay? So this is anger, almost anger, right? So what do you think? Right, it's the whatever part, right? To use the word ever. So whatever. Whatever do you mean by talking to me like that? Okay? So similar, right? Just change what to whatever. Right? So I'll leave you to write that down. Whatever do you mean by talking to me like that? Right? Or you can just write down whatever in the front and then underline the words and then put an underline. Right? That means continuation of the sentence. Alright, so anyway, let's move on to number 5. You should concentrate more while you're driving. So the emphasis is concentrate more while you're driving. How do we emphasize that part in an emphatic structure? Alright, I'll give you some time. Again, mind you, think of the categories. Is this a question, a statement, a suggestion? Right? Is it expressing the feelings or insisting that you do something? Right? Or insisting that you have something or confirming? What do you think? You should concentrate more while you're driving. This is a suggestion, right? So, how do we write down suggestions? We already have it, right, in the first question that we've answered. So we just copy it. Copy the structure down. So how do we write that down? Right, it should be what? And then the subject, you. What you. And then the verb, should, right? Should do. Is what? Is concentrate more while driving or while you're driving. Alright, can you write down the whole sentence? What you should do is concentrate more while you're driving. Again, these are suggestions, right? So if you haven't written it down, write down suggestions on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th point, right? The 5th point of the table. Alright, let's move on quickly. I telephoned our cousins. I telephoned our cousins. So very simple, right? So this is a statement. I telephoned our cousins will become confirming that it was you. So it was me who, right, telephoned our cousins. Now I have something to say about this sentence if you use the word whom. It was me whom telephoned our cousins. Yes, grammatically it's correct, right? It is correct. But nowadays, because a lot of people forget about the word whom, a lot of native English speakers would drop the M drop means to omit or remove, right? So it is okay if you say it was me who telephoned our cousins, right? It is perfectly fine to say that. Omittance, right? To remove. All right, let's move on. Number 7, where are you going to be at Easter? We're asking where, right? So where are you going to be at Easter? What do you think? All right, so this one has 2 implications. You might be concerned, right? Where are you going for Easter, right? Right now there is a coronavirus happening, so it's scary to travel. So again, these are concerns, so you can say wherever. Wherever are you going for Easter? Or another way is, where is that? Or where is it that you are going, right? Where is it that you are going for Easter? And then, of course, question mark. Sorry, not full stop. Question mark, right? Wherever are you going for Easter, right? You're quite concerned. You want to know where they're going and then maybe warn them. Or where is it that you wanted to go for Easter? You're just simply asking the question, right? But an emphasis on the actual place. Okay, number 8. You need a nice cup of coffee. Again, suggestion, right? You need a nice cup of coffee. So really, a lot of emphatic structures are suggesting, right? So what you need is a cup of coffee, right? What you need is a cup of coffee. I'll circle the ones that we have used for suggestions, right? This one, right? Suggestion, suggestion, and suggestion, right? Moving on, number 9. When did you get home? Okay, when did you get home? Again, similar to number 7. Could be concerns, right? You're concerned about someone. So, when did you get home? I was already asleep by 2:30 in the morning. Why did you get home late? Were you in trouble? Did you get drunk or something, right? Something bad might have happened to you. So whenever, right? Whenever did you get home? We have ever here expressing our anger, our concerns, right? Our feelings. So you might be concerned or about someone getting home very late. Or again, as the other one suggests, it could just be a simple question about when you're going home. When did you get home last night, right? So when was it that you got home? And keeping true to the tenses, okay? Did, was, got home. So the difference between these 2 is concern, right? So this one is concern, and this one is almost judging, right? It's almost judgy. When was it that you got home last night? Like 5 a.m. in the morning? Okay, so it's almost like you are lecturing someone. You are judging them slightly, right? Number 10, why did you borrow money from Al? Okay, why did you borrow money from Al? Okay, so this is interrogative, similar to this one, right? So we are almost judging slightly. So why is that? Is? Why did? Okay, so you can say why is or why was, okay, because it is a true situation. Why is that or why was that? Sorry, I forgot it. Why was it that you borrowed money from Al? Okay, again, seems like you are maybe interrogating someone, sort of judging a little bit, right? So this is the difference between the concern, right? Expressing concern or anger, and then the judging, right? When was it? Okay. Where else do we have that? This one too, right? Number 3, was it you that or whom gave him those horrible pair of trousers, right? Kind of judging a little bit, okay? Alright, so let's move on forward. Part 2, okay? So now that we have a couple of practice, 10 sentences or 9 sentences writing, let's try to write down on our own using the words in bold. So bold means the thick words on the left-hand side, I should say, right? Okay, so let's try and do that together. We have one example, right? So you weren't paying attention when the accident happened. So it was you that wasn't. So they put down it was you, right? And then the word in bold is that. Sorry, it should be big I. It was you. That wasn't. So the that here refers is a referent to two things, right? Reference to the person and the situation, right? Alright. So this is the emphasis here. We put the word that. Right. Otherwise, you weren't paying attention when the accident happened, right? It starts with you. You weren't paying attention. In this case, the you and the situation is the emphasized, right? Emphasized part of the sentence. All right, next one. The doctor promised that I could or I would be out of bed in a couple of days, right? The doctor promised that I would. So the doctor did, right? The doctor did. So we're emphasizing what he promised, right? The doctor did say it. So we're confirming that he did say it. Emphasizing it. Did promise that I or that I. In this sentence, you can drop the that when you are speaking, okay? The doctor promised I would be able to leave the hospital in a few days, right? You can remove that. You can drop it. All right, number 3, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. Okay, penicillin is a kind of antiretroviral drug, I think, or antibacterial. So it's either one of those. You use it when you're having a fever, okay? So penicillin. It was Alexander Fleming. Statement. Right? It was Alexander Fleming. Oh, sorry. It's better to use who. The book, I know the book is suggesting that, but it's better to use who. Or whom. Right? Again, it's okay to drop the M, right? Nowadays, people don't really use the word whom. Okay, so who discovered penicillin? Number 4, did you meet Marlon Brando in Hollywood? This is an actor in Hollywood, quite famous a long time ago, right? In the 1960s. Did you meet Marlon Brando in Hollywood? So met. So again, the tense here has changed, right? Was Marlon Brando in Hollywood? So met. So someone met, right? So the question is you. So was it you who met? Or that met Marlon Brando in Hollywood. Again, we're emphasizing not just the person you who met, right? But also the situation of meeting this person. So double emphasis, right? Number 5 is, the committee doesn't want to accept any new members to the club. Is, okay? Is, and then we start with what? What the blank to accept any new members in the club. Right, so we are stating this, okay? But we haven't used this kind of statement form, so you might not be familiar with this, okay? So let me just write it down. What the committee doesn't want is, right? What the committee doesn't want is to accept any new members. Statement, right? So we can also use a suggestive structure to make a statement, okay? Why is this? Because if we start with it was, right? It was. So you can say it was the committee, the committee that didn't want to accept new members into the club. So the meaning there is sort of almost as if someone asks you the question, right? But this one is a statement here, so it's not a negation, right? There is no way to agree or disagree. This is the truth. So we can use the suggestive pattern to just give a statement, right, of the truth. All right, let's move on to the next page. You still have 2 questions, 6 and 7, on page 157. All right, he said he was coming with us. He said he was coming with us. Say, okay, so the tense of said turns into say. He with us, okay? He said he was coming with us, right? This can be someone answering someone, right? Did he say that he was coming with us? Yes, he said that he was coming with us. So we are confirming, right? We are confirming. So what is the emphasis there? Did, right? Did. So he did say. He did say he was coming, okay? So as far as you know, okay? So did means the person who is speaking, right? Not really he, right? Did refers to the fact that the speaker, this is the knowledge of the speakers, right? He did say he was coming. And another reference, right? Double again, two reference. What the speaker is saying, what he knows, and what he, the person they are talking about, said he was going to do, right? Coming. He was coming. So double reference, okay? Two references. All right, last one. Did you go to the Rivera Club last night? The word we should use is it was. You went to last night. So this is talking about a place, right? So was it the Rivera Club you went to last night? Again, we are kind of asking them to confirm, right? And then if they answer, okay, just for the sake of practice, was it the Rivera Club you went to last night? And then you want to answer yes, it was. So how do we write that? Yes, it was the Rivera Club where I went to last night. Okay, you can use a WH question, right? Remember we have WH question on, I think this the fourth part, right? Or you can say it was the Rivera Club that I went to last night. Okay, a place can also use that. All right. So you can answer also in the emphatic structure, and you can also ask questions in the emphatic structure. Now we will go to the inversion, okay? Inversion. Let's go to page 157. You should be at that page anyway. Okay, and then we have the inversion table, right? Inversion table over here. Inversion. Quite a large table, right? So let's try to take a look, and I will explain some stuff on the whiteboard, okay? So inversion comes from the word invert, okay? What does invert mean? To change, okay? To change the position, okay? Or to turn inside out. So this is quite a versatile word, right? You can use it in different ways. So invert here means to change the places, right? Corresponding places. For example, right? I have 1, 2, 3, and I want to invert 1 and 3, right? So it becomes 3, 2, and 1, right? So the inversion takes place here, right? To switch or to swap. So these are called inversions, okay? So what is it exactly we're inverting, okay? So we are inverting the subject of the sentence and the auxiliary verb, okay? The auxiliary verb or the helping verb to give emphasis, okay? And we can look at these in the words in bold again in the table, okay? So we can invert the subject and the auxiliary verb in the sentence to give emphasis. This happens after certain expressions placed at the beginning of a sentence. So for example, we have hardly, barely, okay? And usually this comes with ever, right? Hardly ever, okay? Or barely ever. When, or in no way, in under no circumstances, little or never before, nor or not, nor neither, no sooner than, not even once, not only but also, not since, not till or until, nowhere, only by, only in this way, on no account, on no occasion, only then, really, scarcely ever, so on and so forth, right? Okay, so how do we form these sentences? Look at the first prompt, okay? Little did he say about his incident or accident, rarely does he visit. Okay, let me try to explain this briefly so you understand, okay? So, little did he say. We have the emphatic here, right? And then we also have rarely does he visit. Again, sorry, letter T. Emphatic, right? From the first part. But what we want to look here is the inversion, okay? So what would be the inverted part? Invert which part? The subject and the auxiliary verb, right? So subject. All right, so which one should we change it with? Did and does, right? Did and does. So how would that be in the normal part? Normal sentence structure? Right, he said very little, right? You can say very because of the word did. Right, so he said very little about his accident, okay? So the very is the emphasis, right? We will always use very big, very small, that's the emphasis, right? Where in this case we use did. So you can flip it back to the normal sentence, SVO. He said very little about his accident. What about in this one? Rarely does he visit. Similarly, right? We will swip it to the normal form similarly. So he rarely does he visit us. He rarely visits us. Full stop, right? So rarely here. Now this one is gone because rarely already is the emphasis, right? Emphasis. Okay, so we switched, right? So from very little, right, and he. So we switched it around, and then the adverb will come in the front, right? Over here as well. So rarely, and then he, right? Switch it around. You see, that's the inversion, okay? So the auxiliary verb can also be a adverb, depending on the sentence structure. So there has to be context, right? Remember cohesion and coherence? It has to have context, right? All right, so let's move on to the next point, right? So note that when only after, only by, only if, only when, not since, not until, or not till are put at the beginning of the sentence, we use inversion in the main clause. Okay, so we talked about main clause and a different sentence structure, right? So we have a prose. Prose means continuous writing, and then the main clause, right? This is the main part of the sentence that we want to emphasize, right? So let's take a look at that one. Only when you see him will you realize how much he has to suffer, or how much he has suffered, right? So where is the inversion? Not only when, okay? Only when is just an opening. So only when you see him will you realize how much he has suffered, full stop. Alright, so the inversion here is will you. Okay? Only when you see him. That's when you will realize. That's when you will realize. So these are two separate sentences, right? Only when you see him on the streets, full stop. That's when you will realize he has been suffering a lot. Alright? But we want to put it into one sentence. So there's a one main clause and one prose, right? So will you realize? Only when you see him will you realize. We've switched them around, right? Swapped them up. Invert them. Okay? So again, the words we should only do this with is only, after, so on and so forth, even only when, right? Next prompt, after so such to such a degree, right, in the results clause, okay? So main clause, right, can be also the results clause, okay? Place at the beginning of a sentence. If it's placed at the beginning of the sentence, right, for example, this one, right? Whereas this one is only when is the beginning. So let's examine that closely. All right, so hard does he work that he will soon be promoted. So hard does, does he work? All right, so hard does he work. So he works so hard, right? He works so hard. And then he will receive a promotion. So hard does he work. So we start with so hard, right? The adjective. Does he work? Okay? Does he work? Actually, it should be the whole thing, right? This is one unit, right? Okay, and then emphasis again, does, right? Does he work? This is the auxiliary, all right? And then, of course, we have the conditions, okay? We've learned this already before when I remember when we still had classes, right? So, should you, were I, you, right? So on and so forth, right? Swatch, swift, right? Were I you, if I were you, right? So remove if. The if is gone, right? When we don't need to use if. All right, so let's continue with the questions now, right? So we've done quite a lot, right? We've revised quite a lot of the emphatic and the inversion. So what the get-go here is, there is emphatic structures in inversion, okay? So emphatic is the umbrella term. Emphatic is the bigger term. Inversion is a smaller term inside emphasis, okay? So there is emphasis, and inversion is one way of doing that emphasis, okay? Number 1, we can go with the plan only if you agree. Right? So can will become only if you agree, can we go? So we can, right? So it becomes can we go? Alright, so we can go, can we go? Okay? Edna won't leave the house under any circumstances. Circumstances is under any situation, under any kind of event, threat, or anything, right? So what is happening? Alright, so under no circumstances, right? Under no circumstances will Edna. Alright. What about number 3? If the river rises higher or any higher, the town will be flooded. So the word here is rise. We should use the word rise, not rises, okay? So should. Again, should, right, in the what do we call that? The if clause, right? The if clause, type 1, type 2, type 3. We remove is, so we start with should. So should the river rise? Any higher? Now I assume this one for you will be easy because we've done this before, right? We've practiced this before. Were I you, I would have, right? Not if I were you. Should the river rise, right? Not if the river rise. All right, number 4, paid. If you paid on time, you wouldn't have been cut off. So had you, right? If you, similar to this one. So had you paid on time. Similar, right? If clause. He had just recovered from flu when he caught a bad cold. So sooner. So no sooner, right? That means at the moment. So no sooner. So no sooner means at the soonest, right? No sooner than that. He had, or becomes had he. And just recovered, right? So he had he, that's the inversion there too, right? Okay, moving on. He took such a long holiday that he forgot how to do his job. Did. Okay, so the emphasis here is did, right? From the first part, emphatic structure. Such a long holiday did he take? So what is the inversion here? The long holiday and then he take, right? Instead of he take a long holiday, did he take? Such a long holiday that did he take? That's the inversion there, the whole sentence, right? They switched it. Number 7, all right, I'll give parts for you to do as homework since we're running out of time and I want to explain these parts, okay? So I'll add to your homework later. Manage, right? Manage. Number 7, manage. They managed to get our attention only by shouting at waving their arms. So manage, again, change manage to manage. So this is the hint for you. Only by shouting and waving their arms, similar to this one. Can you try and tell me the answer? It's similar to this one. Did they manage? Very good. Did they manage? Again, this is not the inversion of a simple subject and a simple auxiliary verb, but the subject, the phrase, right? The whole phrase that comes in the front of the sentence and this sentence, right? They switched it. All right, let's do the last one together and then I'll give the rest for you as homework. Should be easy, okay? You have to do some writing exercise anyway. Number 8, ask, okay? He only asks for help when he is really desperate. Ask, right? So asks become ask. So again, we know that the verb, right? It changes, it switches. So only when he is desperate. Look at the table if you don't know how to do this. Only when you see him, he will you realize? So how do we write that down? Only when he is really desperate does he ask. So this is the auxiliary verb here, right? But in the actual sentence, this does not exist. So this can also be will he ask. Does he ask? Will he ask? They are synonymous, okay? Alright, so I'll give you 9 questions, 9 to 30, right? Quite a lot. 9 to 30 as homework. So from 9 to 30 is your homework, okay? So 9 to 30. We have words such as should, seem, else, realize, marched, as, sing, been, do, had, once, there, okay? And then so on from 21 to 30. So 9 to 30 actually is your homework. Let me correct that, okay? 9 to 30 is your homework. Alright? Alright, so again, just to make sure you understand, we have emphatic structure, right? Right? This is the umbrella term. And inside this we have inversion. Okay? And what we learned today is not the only way of emphasizing words, right? We can also use other ways, okay? And we will talk about that more in the coming few lessons, okay? After this one. But I just want you to wrap your head around, okay? These two are not mutually exclusive. It's not like this, right? It's not emphatic structure and then inversion, right? This is wrong, okay? They are quite the same, or one and the same, I should say. So the emphatic structure is the basis, right? The skeleton. Inversion is an addition to it. So switch the subject and auxiliary verb, right? Sometimes you switch them, right? Other times you add the auxiliary verb, such as does, or did, or do. Alright? Just to wrap your head around that. Alright, so now let's do part 4 on page 159. Actually, did I change? 158, sorry. Page 158, this one, part 4. Writing using so or such at the beginning. So we've kind of touched base with this one, right? On the inversion. Starting our sentences with so. Wait, why can't I open my book? So and such, right? Alright, let me erase this so we can start that. Alright. Rewrite the sentences using so or such at the beginning of the sentence. If you want to refer to the table, it will be on 157, right? Page 157, second prompt. That means the second point of the inversion table. Alright, so it should be easy. We have 7 questions. Let's do them one by one. We have an example done, right? Number 1. As the exams were difficult, many students complained. Okay? It starts with so. Right? So difficult were the exams. We already have the inversion there, right? I think you found out already. That many students complained. Okay? Okay, so let's analyze this before we start doing the next parts. Okay, so we have to understand. So the first is, as the exams were difficult, comma, many students complained. As the exams were difficult. As the exams were difficult, comma, many, same thing, I'll just write down equal, right? Many students complained. Erase this, so this part of the sentence, the same. Many students complained. Okay? Might as well just write down the whole sentence, right? As the exams were difficult, many students complained. So difficult were the exams that many students complained. Alright, so reference. Talking about the difficulty of the exam and what happened afterwards, okay? Here we have the inversion. So difficult were the exams. Is it so difficult also in the first part? No, just difficult. So this one is just an addition, right? Okay? The exams were difficult. And you can see the placement of difficult, right? It's almost as if they've put it together with the new addition of so. Okay? So is emphasizing the difficulty of the exam. That refers to the exam being difficult and the students complaining, all right? And then the inversion takes place from the exams were the exams, all right? All right, so similar pattern to the next ones, right? Because we're using so and such, okay? So number 2 is so. Number 3 is such. 4 is such. 5 is, oh, number 4 is so, sorry. Such. Number 6, such and so, okay? All right, let's do this one by one, okay? Let's do this one by one. Number 2. His dream was so strange that his physician, or psychiatrist, sorry, wrote about it in a medical journal. So basically, someone went to a psychiatrist, a doctor for your mental state, right? Can be a psychiatrist or a psychologist, okay? Wrote about it in a medical journal. So a medical journal is a kind of book that people who practice medicine write in, right? To write down their findings, their experiments, etc., right? So how should we change this? Okay, again, we're starting with so. Look for the adjective that we can find, because we know that so pairs with adjective, right? They take the adjective from the first sentence and then pair it together. So which is the adjective here? His dream was so strange that his psychiatrist wrote about it in the medical journal. Strange, right? So it should be so strange What was so strange? So difficult were the exams. So strange. His dreams was so strange. So strange was his dream. Sorry, it's just one dream, right? Not dreams. One dream, right? So strange what was his dream. Okay? So this is the first part of the sentence. Then we have the referent. Right? We're going to talk about the next sentence, right? So we need the referent here as well. That. Okay? What is the next part? What is the main clause here? So strange was his dream that... His dream was so strange that his physician wrote about it in the medical journal. Similar, right? So I'll just write down the equal sign, okay? Write down the same thing and then full stop. So strange was his dream that his psychiatrist wrote it down in his medical journal, right? His dream was so strange that, etc. So you can see here, this part is easier than the first question because the structure is already there, right? You only did the switch, the inversion. Again, strange. Dream. Strange is in a special position paired with so. Was his dream was so strange, right? Do you see? Okay. I'll give you some time to write if you haven't written it down. Alright, question number 3. The explorers took such a long time to find the tomb. T-O-M-B is tomb, okay? Like a cave full of treasures, some dead bodies, like corpses or mummies, right? Tomb, T-O-M-B. That they had nearly run out of supplies. So how do we write that down? Again, it's easy because we already have the structure from part 2, right? Same as part 2. All we need to do is do the inversion. So pretty much just switch the sentence structure, right? So such a long time. What else? The explorers took such a long time, right? So it's pretty much the same. Paired there. Such a long time. Emphasis in did, right? Did the explorers take? We have take here, so obviously we need a to infinitive to find the tomb, right? Such a long time did the explorers take, right? So the explorers took. You can say this is the inversion here. How come? Because of the tense over here, right? The tense over here. took becomes take, right? And then we've inverted it. We've changed the tense of took to take. We take that past tense and put it somewhere in the front, right? And of course, the auxiliary that we should use is do, did, or does. Since this is a past tense, right? Make it into did. Okay? Did the explorers take to find the tomb that, okay, the referent. That means the time that they took and the situation, right? Which is had nearly run out of supplies. They had nearly run out of supplies. Okay, full stop. Alright, oops, sorry. This is the reference, right? Nearly run out of supplies and the long time they took. Alright, so this is quite, it's long but it's easier, right? All you have to do is put a reference or an emphasis, I should say, sorry, emphasis. So this is from the first part, right? Emphatic structure, the first part of the lesson. Okay, number 4, so, right? Many people think she's English because she speaks the language so fluently. So we already have the structure there, so fluently, so we just copy it, right? So fluent. Fluently is the adverb, so we have to change it into, oh, actually no. Let me see. She speaks the language so fluently. Okay, so we can keep it, right? So fluently, alright, she speaks the language. Speaks, right? Speaks. So speaks will become does she speak. Let me just draw a line so we know that this is separate here, okay? Okay. So fluently does she speak the language. Okay? From the original part is, many people think she's English because she speaks the language so fluently. She speaks the language so fluently. The S here has been gone, right? Similar to the top part here. Took become take, and then you put the past over here. So similar here. Speaks, right? She speaks. So the simple present tense is gone, and we have to put it in behind the subject. So swap it around, right? Swap it around. Right over here. Emphasis and takes the tense. All right, and then we need the referent, of course. Refers to the fluency of her using the language, and also refers to the people thinking she is English. So that many people think she is English. So English here means the person, not the language, right? All right, let me maybe write it down further so there's space. Alright, so let's do one more together and then we'll finish it up, alright? So let's do one more together. Number 5, such, right? So ignorant, right? So such is her ignorance. That, right? Her being ignorant. That she's never heard of Shakespeare. Right? Okay? So 6 and 7 will be given to you as homework, okay? So we don't have enough time today. We did a lot of revising, alright? Alright, so this should be our topic for today, inversion and emphatic structures, okay? Again, inversion is a part of emphatic structures. Now I want you to go home and read the tables again, so we will be more familiar in the next lesson to come. We will still do the same one, alright? So thank you everyone for joining me today, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye.